Okay. Good evening. Today's Amud is Daf Tes Amud Aleph, but we still have quite a few lines on Daf Ches Amud Beis, which we didn't finish last time. So we're going to start from the piece of Gemara which starts Hakol Goylon Al Yidei Yisroel. Yeah, it's the Mishnah. It's going in the Mishnah. The Mishnah said that after saying Av Goyl Al Yidei Ben, Vaben Goyl Al Yidei Av, the dinim of the father killing his son and the son killing the father, b'shayikik, that they get galus. So then it says who else is included in galus? Hakol Goylon Al Yidei Yisroel, Yisroel Goylon Al Yidei. Everyone is goyla when they kill a yid, and the yid is goyla when he kills them. Chutz mi Ger Toshav. Besides the Ger Toshav who kills the Yisrael, or Yisrael who kills the Ger Toshav, is part from galus. So the question the Gemara is going to address now: what's Hakol Goylon Al Yidei Yisrael, Yisrael Goylon Al Yidei, and who's it including? It says chutz mi Ger Toshav is not included in galus if he kills a yid, if a yid kills him. So what does the Mishnah say when it says Hakol Goylon Al Yidei Yisrael, that everyone's included in galus if they kill a yid, and that a yid who kills anybody, Yisrael Goylon Al Yidei, is who's this Hakol? Who is the Gemara? That's the Gemara's kash. The Gemara Hakol Goylon Al Yidei Yisrael, Hakol Goylon Al Yidei Yisrael la suyimai. When we say Hakol Goylon Al Yidei Yisrael, that whoever yid kills or whoever kills a yid is goyla la suyimai. What's it coming to include? Normally, when the Mishnah says Hakol, it's coming to include something which isn't explicitly stated. So what's it coming to include? So the Gemara answers la suy eved v'kusi. It's coming to include an eved kinani. That means who's not total yid. He's got the din like a woman, and practically speaking, he's considered like a yid for most dinim. But I might have thought that he's not included in galus, so we're including an eved v'kusi. Kusi is a sect, a group of people who came and they joined Klal Yisrael, and in the days of Sancheiriv, I believe, and there was a discussion whether they're Geri Emes or Geri Royas, whether they were considered true Gerim or not. But even this Gemara is Kanira going with the day that they're considered Geri Emes, right? Kusim are Geri Emes, and therefore Kusim are considered proper Yidden, and therefore they include in the dead of Golos. So if a Kusi kills a Yid or a Yid kills a Kusi, either way it's Chayiv Golos, because a Kusi is a regular Yid Akopanim for these halachas over here. So the Gemara says Tanina Laha. The Mishnah is is teaching us that which we know in the Brisa, which is spelled out in the Brisa, right? Because the Mishnah says Hakol Goylon. We explain that Hakol Goylon includes Aved v'Kusi, but the Brisa says it clearly. Tanina Laha. The Mishnah is by saying Hakol is teaching us the din that which we learned in the Brisa, the Tana Rabban, Laha the Tana Rabban, and that which we learned in the Brisa. The Brisa says Aved v'Kusi Goyla v'Loi Kalidei Shal v'Shal Goyla v'Loi Kalidei Kusi. Here the Brisa is not only talking about Galus, also talking about Malkus, and it's telling you that Aved or a Kusi, Aved Kanani or a Kusi, gets Galus if he kills a Yid, but he also gets Malkus through a Yid. We'll soon see what that means. The Yisroel Goyla v'Loi Kalidei Kusi v'Aved. And similarly, the other way around, the Yid who kills a Kusi or Aved gets Galus and also Loika. You can also sometimes get Malkus through behaving a certain way with a Kusi and an Evet. So the Gemara is going to ask straight away. Bishleim Evet v'Kusi Goyla al Yidei Yisrael v'Loika Bishleim. When we say an Eved v'Kusi is Goyla al Yidei Yisrael v'Loika, I'll tell you what Pshat is. I understand what Pshat in Goyla is, and I understand what Pshat in Loika. Goyla dekatle. Goyla is talking about an Eved v'Kusi who kills a Yid, gets Galus. V'Loika delatya. When the Brisa says that Eved and Kusi are Loika al Yidei Yisrael, and the Yisrael is Loika al Yadai, what does it mean? They get Malchus through the Kusi. It means to say that if somebody curses out a Kusi with the Shem Hashem, with the Shem of Kadosh Baruch Hu, he curses him out using the Shem Hashem, he curses him using the Shem Hashem, so he gets Malchus. The Einish for Rashi will explain a little more, but there's a lav, a nasi ba'am chaloisar. Yeah, the Sukkim talk a few times about not cursing different people. The Maisa we learned from a Binyana, from a Tzad Shava, that it applies to any Yid, or almost any Yid, as we'll soon see. But if you curse a Yid with Hashem's name, you get Malchus. The Gemara over here, the Brisa is saying, Eved v'Kusi Goyla v'Loi Kalidei Yisrael. The Eved and Kusi gets Golos if he kills a Yid, and gets Malchus if he curses a Yid. And same thing the other way around, that a Yid, that's l'chura what it means. Yeah, the same thing. L'chura, the other way around should mean the same thing. The Yisrael Goyla v'Loi Kalidei Kusi. The Yid gets a Golos if he kills a Kusi b'Shaygeg or Eved, and he gets Malchus if he curses him. So Gemara straight away asks, Ali Yisrael Goyla v'Loi Kalidei Kusi. But the Sefer of the Brisa, which says that Yid gets Golos and gets Malchus through the Kusi, Bishleim Goyla dekatle. I understand the case of Goyla dekatle. A Yid kills an Eved or Kusi, and here actually the Gemara is zeroing in on Kusi. Ali Yisrael Goyla v'Loi Kalidei Kusi. Bishloim goyle de katle. I understand goyle de katle kills a kusi. Kusi is considered a yid, so why shouldn't he not get golus? Elaloika mai the latli. You're going to tell me what's malchus when he curses him? When a yid kills curses, sorry, when a yid curses a kusi, he gets malchus for the lav of loy soyer of not cursing another yid. You can't say such thing. The nasi ba'amcha loy soyer. The pasuk says clearly the nasi ba'amcha loy soyer. You're not allowed to curse a nasi. Then it says other psukim not to curse a cherish and not to curse a dayan, from which we learn that it applies to all yidden. But the point is that by the pasuk we says v'nasi says ba'amcha, which we learn from the extra word ba'amcha ba'oisa ma'isa amcha. That you only chayav galos if the person who you're cursing out is behaving in the proper way. Ba'oisa ma'isa amcha is a good yid. Kusim, even if they're Geir Emes, even if they're considered real Geirim, which this Mandama holds, nevertheless, they didn't believe in Torah Shabbal Peh, they didn't behave like Yidden should, and therefore, for sure, they're not considered included in Oisa Ma'isa Amcha, and therefore you wouldn't be Chayiv Golos. So going back to the Brisa, we don't understand the Brisa. The Brisa says, Evad Kusi Goyle V'Lei Kalidei Yisrael, which is verständig. Right? Sorry, but Evad Kusi Yisrael, Evad Kusi, yeah, that's verständig. But Yisrael Goyle V'Lei Kalidei Kusi, the other way around. A yid is goyle v'loy kalidei kusi. Why is a yid loy kalidei kusi? If a yid curses a kusi, he shouldn't get malchus because it's not oisa ma'isa amcha. Whether this applies to Evad or not is a stickle machlokes rishonim. But the parashas the Gemara is, if you just read the Gemara straight up, it's only addressing kusi. Yeah, the Gemara is asking a kasha. Ali shal goyle v'loy kalidei kusi is nasi ba'amcha loisar. Elam Racha b'Yaakov is chayzin says that we must say that pshat in the loy kal yedei that you get malchus through the kusi or the kusi gets malchus through the Yisroel is not talking about being mekallel somebody, because it wouldn't work in the other way around. The kusi who curses wouldn't, sorry, a yid who curses a kusi wouldn't get malchus because it's not oisa ma'isa amcha. We have to change. We have to talk about a situation where it's talking about somebody was made. In other words, we're trying to find a case. What's al yidei? Al yidei means that it matters. You're getting punished through someone else. Usually, you eat chaylev, you do an avera. There's no through. You get punished. What's al yidei? Al yidei is mashma you have someone else involved. So we thought they was talking about when you curse somebody. So we said he can't say that because a kusi who curses a yid is yid who curses a kusi is not going to get malchus because it's not by oisa ma'isa amcha. So the Gemara says we're talking about a situation where a yid was made about a kusi and then he became an eid zoyman. We know he gets kasher zaman, and we're talking about a situation where there's malchus. In other words, he was made about the kusi that he ate chaylev or whatever, he ate nevelo or some other lav, and he gets malchus, and then the eid was found to be zoyman, and then the chiddush is that he gets malchus al yidei through the kusi. What's the chiddush? I'm not sure exactly, but upon him, the Gemara straight away asks, you can't say such a thing. The kavosei gabe eved, because if that would be the case, then the eved, in the case of eved, you would have to say shehayed by behuzam. When you say that the eved is loy kalidei Yisrael, you would have to say that the eved is being made about a yid and becoming zayman, but that can't be because eved bar edus is an eved bar edus. So the Gemara basically tries to say that the loy kalidei is talking about cursing. Says that can't be because a yid who curses a kusi is not chayiv malchus because the kusi is not oisa ma'isa amcha. The Gemara now suggests, or just tried suggesting that hey, boy b'huzam, you were made about a kusi in your huzam, but that can't be because then if we say that all above us in the Brisa are talking about the same thing, then loy kalidei means that the eved is loy kalidei Yisrael when the eved is made and then becomes found zayim, but eved is not bar eidos anyway. There's no musik of an eid zayim and eved. Elo amr Rav Achabar the Rika. The Gemara concludes in the Maskana that Rav Achabar the Rika says we can't be talking about cursing. Lat here we can't be talking about heid by v'huzam eid zayim, but rather hakamai skin and kunshi kol hakash ein by shavaput. We're talking about a situation where a yid hits a kusi or vice versa, right? Or eved, or the kusi and the eved hits a yid. And it's talking about Hakasha Ein Shava Pruta. He hits him, but it was a very minor hit, that there was no Shava Pruta of damage incurred. If there was a Shava Pruta incurred, then we know Yichayim Nezik Sari Prishavas Boishes is the 5 things, and that's it. And whenever there's a Tashlumin, there's no Malchus. But in the case where there's no Tashlumin, so then you're left with a lav of Lo Yosef, which is said in the context of a dying, someone who's getting Malchus, that you're not allowed to add more than the 39. And we learn from there that if you're not allowed to hit a Rasha, Kavachayim, you're not allowed to hit anybody. You're not allowed to give somebody to hit him when he doesn't deserve it, and it's allowed. Yichayv Malchus calls man that there's no tashlumin, so therefore Hakash Ein B'Shava Pruta will get Malchus. And we're talking about a situation where a yid hits a kusi, or kusi hits a yid or an eved, right?
You should always get Malchus and not tashlumin.
The Torah says clearly. Okay, but the Torah says clearly that's yeah, but Feiru Shib Satar Tashlumin. We'll see Rashi. Yeah, the Torah says clearly they have to pay tashlumin. So it must be talking about a certain situation, right? If there's always a lot, right? So the Amr of Amr Riyach, and the Ko Hakash Ein B'Shava Pruta like Rami says, Taka says in Riyach, in the morning, Silba Sanhedrin, yeah, that Ko Hakash Ein B'Shava Pruta is Taka like, yeah, it's a very interesting situation. When you give him a big shmais, you pay money. And when you give him Hakash Ein B'Shava Pruta, you get Malchus. So the loy makshina kal liklala. Here the Gemara is saying in short form, what's the chiddush? In other words, that we have to add that in this situation, if we're going to say that a yid who hits a kusi gets malchus, you have to learn a loy makshina kal liklala. We don't compare kal liklala. There is an opinion which says that hakar, because it's next to the hitting is in the pasuk next to the din of Mikalo, therefore it's compared one to the other. And just like by Mikalo, you're not chayiv if it's he's not behaving. So hakar you would also not. And if that shitta, this brisa wouldn't work at all, because it's not Yisroel loy kali day kusi. Yid taka won't get malchus for hitting a kusi because he's not oisamais amcha. But this brisa is going according to Madama. V'loy makshin and hakar likol. We don't compare hakar likol. Has two different rules. Chalal is only by oisamais amcha. Hakar, any yid you hit him, even if he's a rasha, even if he's you are chayev malchus. So let's see Rashi. The second to last line of the Amud, we say that some of the Makal is Kavei Ovid Leisasa, but the also by Me'atzad, Makal Dayan and also by Cheresh. There's three psukim, one to the Makal, by Dayan, one by Nasi, one by Cheresh. And the three psukim are not all necessary, but we learn from the fact that Torah has to say all three times. You learn from the Me'atzad, from the Sad Hashav of Dayan, Nasi, Cheresh. It's not Dafka Dayan or Nasi or Cheresh, a deaf person or Nasi or Dayan, but rather any Yid you chayev. It's a lav of Mikal, Michai Malchus. The Gemara goes to say that Hayed by Behuzim, Hayed by Shuchai Malchus, you were made about the Kusi, or the Kusi was made about the Yid, that he's Chai Malchus, and then it was Huzam, but we say that can't be, because then the Eved case wouldn't work. How would an Eved get Malchus for being made and then being found Zoimim for a Yid? The Eved is not about Eidos Bechlau. So finally, the Gemara says, we're talking about a situation where you hit Hakar She'im B'Shav Pruta, which Rashi says, She'im Yesh Bat Hashlomi Pruta, like you're saying, yeah. You're asking, then you pay and you don't get Malchus. Why that way around? Why not Malchus and not Mishal? Before coming with Rabbi, the Alpina Bixubas Vedaнаris. We learn in the Gemara in Ksubas Vedaнаris, the Perik Vedaнаris, Befeirush Ribs the Torah Chayba B'Chaveirach Tashlomin. That the Torah explicitly was marbe the case of somebody who wounds his friend, who hits his friend to Tashlomin. So therefore, we know it's Tashlomin. But there's no Shavaput. Then you go back to the regular Malchus, which is for any lav in the Torah and here it's the lav of Lo Yosef. Lo Kishava Aloy Soisif Pen Yosef. The passage says don't add Pen Yosef, which is the lav for somebody hitting a friend. It's really talking about Bezdin, but it applies to anybody who hits somebody who doesn't deserve to be hit. Loy Makshina Kalik Klal, says Rashi Loyma. In other words, that this brisa must go according to the opinion which says that we don't compare Kalik Klal. If you were Makshina Nakali Klal, if you would compare Kali Klal, then we would say the following: Loyma to say Shekshem Sheina Loykal Kalasai, Ba'amcha Kakla Yukal Alakasai. That to say that it's just like a person doesn't get Malchus when we Makal somebody who's a Kusi because he's not Ba'amcha, so too you shouldn't get Malchus for hitting him. Or plug Tiba Sanhedrin, the Ikadamakis, because Loymakish Machlekes Tanaim, I think, in Sanhedrin, that some say yes and some say no. Some say do Maksha Kali Klal, and you only chayav Malchus for hitting somebody who's a Oisamais Amcha. Others say not, and this price over here is going according to Mandama, who says that you don't. Okay. Finally, we get to the next piece, which says Chutz Migar Toshim. Chutz Migar Toshim implies that a Yid who kills a Gar Toshim b'Shoigeg, or the other way around, a Gar Toshim who kills a Yid doesn't get Galus, which is mashma that a Gar Toshim is not bedinning Galus b'Klal. Yid who kills him, more than that, it's mashma a Gar Toshim is a goy. Because if a Gar Tosh was considered a Yid, then a Yid who kills a Gar Tosh would get Galus. If a Gar Tosh, right? So that's the Gemara's. So the Gemara is going to ask a stira from this part of the Brisa to the end part of this part of the Mishnah to the end part of the Mishnah, where the Mishnah says that Gar Tosh does get Galus in certain instances. Seems to be a little bit of a stira. Let's see the Gemara. Chutz mi Gar Tosh, that's the Ger, so we don't go Ali Day, okay? Because it goes both ways. A Yid who kills a Gar Tosh, or a Gar Tosh who kills a Yid. Alma, we see from this Gemara Gar Tosh of Oivik Yichavim. We see from this Mishnah, that Ger Tosh is like a guy. A Yid doesn't get killed for killing him. A Yid doesn't get Galus for killing the Ger Tosh b'Shoigeg, nor does the Ger Tosh get Galus for killing the Yid. It's mashma, he's mamish like a guy. That should imply that Ger Tosh should never get Galus. However, Ema Sefer, look in the Sefer, Ger Tosh of Goy Lali de Ger Tosh. We find certain instances where Ger Tosh is Taki Yagoy Lali de Ger Tosh. So the Gemara says, I'm Rav Kana Loy Kasha. Your assumption is incorrect. Basically, you're making an assumption that if a Ger Toshav doesn't get Galus for killing a Yid, or a Yid doesn't get Galus for killing a Ger Toshav, it means a Ger Toshav is a guy. No, Ger Toshav is his own category. Amrav Kana Loy Kasha can be Ger Toshav Shahara Ger Toshav can be Ger Toshav Shahara Yisrael. Depends what you're talking about. Ger Toshav who kills a Ger Toshav Taka gets Galus. Even though usually a Ger Toshav is considered a guy, it doesn't have the dinim of the Yidden, so he shouldn't have Galus. So the special pasuk here, which is Marbe, which we'll soon see, which is Marbe, which includes Ger Toshav. The Ger Toshav has sometimes a din of galus. But ger toishav sharag Yisroel, if a ger toishav kills a yid, I guess it's too much of a chamor that can have avera. In such a situation, a ger toishav who kills a yid b'shaygeg, taka doesn't get galus. So that's how we miyashav this steer. Ikudurami kray adadi. Some don't say that Rav Kahana comes to address a steer in the Mishnah, but rather Rav Kahana comes to address a problem, a contradiction in the Psukim. Ikudurami kray adadi. Some ask a steer between the Psukim one and the other. What's the steer? It says in one pasuk in Parshas Maseh. Right? It says over there, but the pasuk starts up by saying that the din of Ari Miktot is lagar v'teisha. Ksiv l'nei Yisrael lagar v'teisha b'seichem. It says in one pasuk that the 6 cities should be taka for the Yidden, for the Gerim and the Teishavim, which sounds like a Ger Teishav does have a din galus, is included in galus. Ksiv, but it says in another pasuk, this pasuk is in also over there in the same, just a few psukim earlier. Yeah, a few psukim earlier in the same parish, Parashas Maseh, it says v'hayu lachem ha'arim lemiklat, which is mashma only lachem to the Yidden lachem. What's that guy Sabach say? Lachem v'loy legerim, yeah, not mashan in the gerim. Lachem v'loy legerim, which is mashma the geri teishavim, are not included in galus. Some Rav Kahana, some say Rav Kahana said this loy kasha on the steer between the psukim. Rav Kahana loy kasha kan beger teishav shar Yisroel, kan beger teishav shahar ger teishav. First pasuk which says if nei Yisroel ger teishav means that ger teishav has the din of galus if he kills a ger teishav like him. But in a situation where a ger teishav kills a yid, so then his taka doesn't get galus, and that's what the pasuk b'hayu lachem ha'arim lemiklat that we have in the brayso. He doesn't get. That's in the brayso. I'm sorry, in the Mishnah. The Mishnah itself implies that. Which means both ways. Chutz mi ger teishav meaning chutz mi if a yid kills a ger teishav, or if a ger teishav kills Yisroel. Yid doesn't get a galus for ger teishav because a yid wouldn't be chayav misa on a ger teishav. Although taka you're not allowed to mitzvah lachyoisa, you're not allowed to kill a ger teishav, but there's no chayav misa on a ger teishav. It's if you kill yazdish shreyeyu, hager ba'arma mimlis b'chtikanu lamasai. It's only if you kill a mamish a yid. So therefore, b'shoigi there's no galus. But here we're discussing the other way around. The ger teishav who kills a yid, a ger teishav whether he gets galus or not. So we said it depends. If a ger teishav kills a yid, then he doesn't get galus, and we apply the pasuk b'hayu lachem ha'arim lemiklat. That's what the ratio of the Mishnah is talking about. And a ger teishav shahareg a ger teishav. Then the pasuk of that taki is included in galus. The nei Yisroel lagar teishav b'seichem tiana is applied, and that's what the sefer of the Mishnah is talking about. I know. Yeah. What does Shainim deal with it? Yeah, it's a difficult thing to understand. What's taka? It's the way I explained it. What do you mean? What's going on? What's the havana? What's havana? It's not enough. The galus is not a good enough kapara.
So when he kills the guy, it is?
Yeah. It's less of a the life of a guy is less valuable. Ger teishav is less valuable than yid. It's less of a chamor dik avera than killing yid. Yeah. Right, huh? Or a minu. Now the Gemara says a steer. We have a brayso which seems to say otherwise. What's the brayso say? The brayso is talking over there about Shavim mitzvahs, and we're saying that by a goy, including a ger teishav as well. Yeah, all goyim, if they don't need hasra to be chayav misa. So the Gemara continues leficha ger va'oivet kichavim shahar gunei ragim. A ger teishav it means, yeah, and a oivet kichavim who kill, meaning even if they kill without hasra, and even if it's not a mazid, nei ragim. They get misa. So now we're going to ask Ketani ger domi Dovid kichavim puts ger teishav together with oivet kichavim. Ma oivet kichavim loishna the katal barminei v'loishna the katal lav barminei nerag. Just like an oivet kichavim who's getting killed for not amazed, right? That's the hamshach of the brayso. The fichok is coming. We said hasra son zui misason azara son zui misason. That they don't get hasra. We don't have to know that they're for sure amazed. So even if it's less than amazed, they get misa, and oivet kichavim who kills gets misa. But then it says lefichok ger v'oivet kichavim compares ger v'oivet kichavim. Lechora tani ger domi Dovid kichavim. Ma oivet kichavim leishnad the katal barminei v'leishnad the katal lav barminei. Just like by a guy, it doesn't make a difference if he kills a yid or if he kills a guy. He's going to get misa. We don't know any difference. Nerag, he gets right. Afgar lechora ger is being compared to oivet kichavim, and we should learn from the loishna the katal barminei, the loishna katal the lab barminei. If we wouldn't have compared ger teishav to oivet kichavim, and it would stam as I said that ger teishav is nerag. I could say that ger teishav is nerag if he kills a guy, but if he kills a ger teishav b'shoyge, but if he kills a ger teishav b'shoyge, then he gets galus. But here that you're comparing Ger to Oivik Yechavim, then it sounds like just like an Oivik Yechavim, it doesn't make a difference who he's killing. The guy, Ger Toishav doesn't make a difference who he's killing, he gets Misa. So to a Ger Toishav is compared to a guy's mashma the same thing. It doesn't make a difference whether he's killing a Yisroel or he's killing a fellow Ger Toishav, B'shoigeg, he gets Misa, which is Bistira to our Mishnah, which says that if a Ger Toishav kills another Ger Toishav B'shoigeg, then he gets Golos. So Amr Rav Chisda says one teretz, and Rav is going to say a different teretz. Amr Rav Chisda, Loi Kasha kan shal gederech yirida, kan shal gederech aliyah. In other words, no, you're making a mistake. You think we're talking about shoige. We don't have to be mamish talking about shoige. We're talking about a situation where the Ger Toishav, were he to be it, would also not get galos, right? We started off the whole parrot by saying Eilen agoylen only zak hakol shederech yiridos agoylen, derech aliyos ein agoylen. So Rav Chisda is saying like this. Loi kasha kan shal gederech yirida. Our Mishnah, which says that Ger Toishav is yagoyla when he kills the Ger Toishav, is talking shal gederech yirida. He killed him in the classical way where you get galos, which is derech yirida. But this price over here, which says a Ger Toishav is nerag, is chayiv misa for killing a Ger Toishav is too much shahar derech aliyah. Derech aliyah, and we explain. Derech yirida the Yisrael goli yunami sagile begalos. Derech yirida, where a yid who kills derech yirida, Taka gets galos, so he too, the Ger Toishav who kills the Ger Toishav, will also get galos if he kills derech yirida. Yunami sagile begalos. Derech aliyah, but if he kills derech aliyah, the Yisrael patur, where yid doesn't get galos, who nerag, he's going to be chayiv misa. Tomorrow straight away going to ask a kasha. What do you mean if he gets part from galos? So the chur derech aliyah is more cow. Let's see Rava's kasha before we elaborate on it. Amalei Rava, Amalei Rabba. Okay, not sure exactly what's behind the girsa, the change between the girsa Rabba and Rava, but Amalei Rabba. The lav kavachayma. How can you say such thing? You want to tell me that this brayso which says Ger Toishav who kills the Ger Toishav is chayiv galos is talking about. Sorry, that the Mishnah which says Ger Toishav who kills the Ger Toishav is chayiv galos is talking about derech yirida, and our brayso over here which says Ger Toishav is nera gets aliyah. How can you say such thing? Lav kavachayma. Or ma derech yirida the Yisrael goli iunami sagile begalos. It'll make a kavachayma. If the derech yirida where the yid gets galos, he also gets galos. So he's on the same level as a yid. Derech aliyah the Yisrael pata iunera b'tzmiyah. Derech aliyah where it seems more cow. In other words, Rava took pshita as a derech aliyah, like we explained when we first learned the Mishnah, that many learn that derech aliyah is be'emes karev la'oinus. It's less expected that something's going to fall, and therefore, if it does fall, right, you're lifting something up. It's less likely to fall than if you're lowering something, and therefore it's considered karev la'oinus, less than shoige. And that's as Rava's working. This is how Rava's working over. This is Rava's working assumption. That what do you mean? If derech yirida yid gets galos, and the Ger Toishav who kills the Ger Toishav gets galos. Derech aliyah where the yid is part of because it's less than derech yirida. It's more of an oinus. Ionerek he should get killed. It doesn't make any sense. So obviously the pshat is like many Rishonim explain. The Chisda who learn otherwise Taka holds that derech aliyah is shoyu karv lemezid, whatever the biur is. And that's what he was saying. Derech aliyah is a step up. So a step up, a Ger Toishav gets killed for killing for Ger Toishav. But Rava would say, no, for sure not. What do you mean? Rava understood that Derech aliyah is for sure karev la'oinus, and therefore why should you get killed? In other words, that's in fact ein goyla doesn't mean that it's less chamor, because like you said already, that based on the base that Golos is not a good enough kapara. But Rava understood that the reason why Derech aliyah is parted from Golos is because it's karev la'oinus, and therefore he doesn't understand how can we possibly say that the brisa which says that Ger Toishav is nerag for killing a Ger Toishav, could we talk about derech aliyah? It should be less than galos, not more. So therefore, Rava says another pshat. Ela amar Rava, Ela amar Rabba. Therefore, Rava or Rabba say that no. I've got a different way of being miyash of the Mishnah and the Brayso. So the Mishnah which said that Ger Toishav gets galos for killing a Ger Toishav, and the Brayso which implies by saying Ger Dumi Dovid Kichavim that a Ger Toishav gets killed for killing a Ger Toishav, but oimem mutar. This Brayso is talking about oimem mutar. Oimem mutar, he thinks it's mutar. In other words, he knows he's killing somebody, but he thinks it's mutar to kill a person. He's amazed, but he's oimem mutar. He doesn't know. He says it's mutar. He's intentional in his act. He's oimem mutar. And in such a case, oimem mutar is karev l'mezid. And Taka would Ger Toishav who kills a Ger Toishav, but oimem mutar is going to be chayev misa. Amalei Abaya said to him, yeah, that's pshat. That's what the Brayso says. Nera. Yeah, he gets killed. Who said the back changes to Nerag? Yeah, okay. Amalei Abai said, "Oimem mutar anos." So how can you say such thing? Oimem mutar is doch anos. Abai had to swear that oimem mutar is anos. Guess, yeah, we saw this already earlier in the beginning of Eirin Agoyim. So Amalei Rav said, "No, that's very nice. You think Oime Mutter is on the Shani Oime Mutter Karv Lemezid. I hold that Oime Mutter is Karv Lemezid. So really, what we have over here is Machlekes Rav Chisda on one hand and Rabbi or Rava on the other hand, and with Abaya backing up Rav Chisda. In other words, that Oime Mutter is Taka and Onus. In other, each one learns exactly the opposite. The reason why Rav Chisda has to explain the Brisa, which says the Ger Toshav who kills the Ger Toshav is Chayev Misa, is because he holds that. Derech Aliyah is Karv Lemezid, but he couldn't say this to Oime Mutter because he holds Oime Mutter is honest. Conversely, Rava or Rabbi, he says that it's understood Derech Aliyah is Karv La'onis. For sure can't be Nerag for that. The Ger Toshav who kills a Ger Toshav Derech Aliyah. The Oime Mutter is Taka Karv Lemezid. So the two-way machlokes, but the Oime Mutter is Karv Lemezid or Karv La'onis, and similarly whether Derech Aliyah is Karv La'onis or Karv Lemezid. So I think we'll pause over here and let's learn Rashi. Chutz migar toishav, well, mashma de travayim ma'ayle, right? And the Mishnah says chutz migar toishav is mashma that we might both. In other words, whether gar toishav kills yid or yid kills gar toishav. The loy hu goylai darigasi al nerag, the loy yisrael goylala. The yid doesn't get golos, and the gar toishav who kills a yid is going to get killed. So is he in the zin of golos or not? So the Gemara understands that from this that he doesn't get golos, he's a goy. Later we say gar toshav kills the gar toshav gets galus. Mashma he's got a din of a yidlin in galus. Gemara Taka says that loy kasha gar toshav shari gar toshav goylik is tani behadya. The reisha kashar gets Yisroel in a goy the sagi le begalus. It's not good enough. Galus is not a good enough kappa. The fichak going to the Brisa, which seems to say otherwise. So Rashi explains to me what the context of what the Brisa is coming from. What's the Brisa lefichak? Where's the lefichak going on? Asheva mitzvah shenistavam bnei noach. It's going. It's referring to the 7 mitzvahs that the bnei noach are mitzvah are commanded in. The Kaimelon back says the Kaimelon Azaras and Zumisasim. We learn that the fact that they're told in the Torah not to do it, Zui Misas, and that's a good enough reason for them to get Misa. They don't have to be warned. The Ficha Ger Toshav Eiv Kicham Shahar Gunarag and Vafilu B'Shaygeh. The way Rashi explains it is that it's talking about even B'Shaygeh, that Ger Toshav or a guy, at least in the Havamina, we think that a Ger Toshav or Eiv Kicham Shahar Gunarag and Vafilu B'Shaygeh. Sheim Leinoich Shikhan Asakid Amrin B'Sanha. I say even in the Havamina because it could be in the Maskana when we say it's Derech Aliyah or Oime Mutter, then only if it's Mamish Karev Lemezid you'll be Nerag. But if it's Shoygeg, Yitaka not going to be a guy's not going to be Nerag. Even if he's not going to get Golos, but he's not going to get Nerag. Upon him the Havamina at this stage, Rashi explains the Gemara to be saying that even B'Shoygeg, a Ger Toshav or a guy who kills is Nerag. And that is B'Stir to the Mishnah which said that B'Shoygeg you get Golos, at least in the case of a Ger Toshav who kills a Ger Toshav. And this is how the Gemara teaches us the kasha. He gets killed, or he kills somebody who's not like him, which is Yisroel. After Toshav, so we should apply the same thing to Ger Toshav. Doesn't make a difference if he kills someone who's like him, which is a Ger Toshav, or the Lar Barminei Yisroel, he should get his Nerag, which is Bistira to the Mishnah, which says a Ger Toshav kills a Ger Toshav gets Golos. So the Gemara first answers the Derech Aliyah answer, that Derech Aliyah versus Derech Yerida, which basically we're saying that at least in the case of a Ger Toshav, that a Ger Toshav is if he kills Derech Yerida, which is a regular Shoygeg, then he gets Golos for killing a Ger Toshav. When it's Karev Lemezid, so then Nera. Not going into the situation of the goy. With regards to the goy, it's Machlekes Rishonim, whether a goy who kills a goy Derech Yerida would taka be Nerag or not. Like upon him, we can explain that this mission is talking about Derech Aliyah, and in such a situation, a Ger Toshav is taka domi Dovid Kichavim, that even if he kills a Ger Toshav, he's going to be Nerag for Derech Aliyah. And Rabbi challenge that, and they say no, it's talking about Oime Mutter. Oime Mutter Nerag the Lav Bar Golos. A Ger Toshav kills a Ger Toshav, he's Oime Mutter, then he's Nerag the Lav Bar Golos. Okay. Weiter in the Gemara. Va'ozdul Tamayu. Va'ozdul Tamayu means Rav and Rav Chisda, right? We had a machlokes Rav and Rav Chisda, whether Oime Mutter is Karv La'onis or Karv Lemezid. So Va'ozdul Tamayu the Itma. And here also we're talking about, it's Mukhrach, and as we'll soon see, we're talking about Ger Toshav Taka. A Ger Toshav, we're right with the dinim of Ger Toshav, who's killing. Kesavo behem of a Nimsa Adam. If the Ger Toshav knew he was killing, he had the gun pointed, but he thought the figure distance from him was an animal, the Nimsa Adam. And Be'emes it was an Adam. You have to say it's another Ger Toshav, because if it was a Yid, he wouldn't get Galus as mentioned in the Mishnah. So Kesavu Behem of a Nimsa Adam, if he thought he was killing a Behem of a Nimsa Adam, it was a Ger Toshav just like him. Or Kenani even Nimsa Ger Toshav. Or Taka was a human being, but it was a Kenani for which a Ger Toshav wouldn't be Chayiv Galus for. Because the Kanani is not in the whole din of Galus. V'nimsa ger toisha, and in the end it's a ger toisha. Rava oime chayev. Rava says chayev, and he explains oime muta karev lemezitu. Because this is like an oime muta, we'll soon explain why it's like an oime muta upon him. It's like oime muta, which is karev lemezitu. Chista oime pata oime muta anasu. And of course, it's not oime muta in such a situation. He thought he was killing a behema, and it was nimsa adam. Can't even nimsa ger taisha. But it's the same principle as oime muta. What's the reason why a goy, at least, or why oime muta is considered karev lemezit, or why a goy is chayev or ger taisha is chayev if he kills by oime muta? The reason is hoyolay lama v'loy lama. You thought it was muta, very nice, but you should have checked. You should have hoyolay lama v'loy lama. Here too, hoyolay la'ayin v'loy iyan. You should have checked whether he was dealing with a behema or an adam. You knew you were kidding. You knew you were pulling the gun. Be careful. It's not good enough to say ksava behema. So it's the same idea that when you have to be ma'ayin, you weren't ma'ayin. Whether we say you have to be ma'ayin, and if you weren't, it's considered the karev lemezin or not. So Rav Taka says ksava behema nimsa adam k'nanim nimsa gar toishav is taka karev lemezin nichayev, because he holds aim muta is karev lemezin. And Chisda says pata because the shita say the aim muta is anus, so it's einus or karev leinus. Okay. That is the machloikas Rav and Rav Chisda. Now we ask a kasha from Psukim, interestingly enough. Eis vi Rav Rav Chisda. Rav asks kasha Rav Chisda. Now, Rav who holds the oim mutar is considered a karev lemezid, asks a kasha to Rav Chisda, talking about the story with Avimelech. Avimelech took Sarah, and the Eibishter says to Avimelech, Hincha meisa lo isha shelokachta. You chayiv misa. You should be chayiv misa alo isha shelokachta for the woman who you took. The Gemara understands ma'ila b'dei adam. Don't we think the pshat in hincha meis means that you chayiv misa b'dei adam as a raya, and he was oimim muta. Why was he oimim muta? Because he didn't think he was dealing with an eishes ish. Avram told her, at least we'll soon see later. It's clear. Avram told her that that it was his sister. That was the minhag b'chal. Wherever we go, Pasuk says, wherever we go, we're gonna make this thing that you're gonna say that you're my sister. So he didn't know he was dealing with an age. She was an oimim muta, and nevertheless, we say hincha meis is chayiv misa is a raya, and ma'ila b'dei adam. We think it's chayiv misa b'dei adam is a raya that a goy is chayiv misa for oimim muta because oimim muta is karev lemezid and kopanim it's not anus, and you're chayiv misa for it. Ma'ila b'dei adam. The Gemara says lo b'dei shomayim. No, there's no raya. Because Rav Taka understood this passage mean b'dei adam, Rav Chisda will answer back is b'dei shamayim. Question you have to deal with just outside of the Gemara for a moment is what do you mean? If it's oinus, and why do we chayiv b'dei shamayim? So the Mefarshim explain that yes, in other words, an oimim muta can take a tiny to bezdin that he is a chura. The Gemara says lo b'dei shamayim. Now Rav Chisda answers Rava, no raya from hincha meis al isha shelokachta that the chayiv misa for oimim muta, because when it says hincha meis it means b'dei shamayim. I'm just saying that the you can still ask. Even if you b'dei shamayim, if you're honest, if you hold the oimim muta is honest, you wouldn't be chayiv misa b'dei shamayim. So the Mefarshim explain that true. Taka, in other words, Hashem knows the truth. In other words, when Hashem was, in other words, Avimelech's taina could very well be to Bezdin. Oimim mutar is that oimim mutar. I'm an oimim mutar that I didn't know what was going on, and therefore he could be considered an honest in the eyes of Bezdin. But ultimately, Hakadosh Baruch Hu knows exactly what's in his mind, and Hakadosh Baruch Hu knew that in this case it wasn't such a honest. Yeah. So it was even Rav Chisda would hold that the svar of oimim mutar that sometimes it's a taka hayolay loma v'loy lama, but not always. So upon him, you have to deal with that question. So the Gemara says deikanami. The Gemara now turns it around and says that actually the pasuk is meduyak to Rav Chisda, that he's talking about b'dei shamayim and not b'dei adam. The pasuk says that Hakadosh Baruch Hu told him from sinning against me, and the Gemara understands this to mean that you would mechatoili, meaning that there was the sin is against me, and I will deal with it in samisa b'dei shamayim. The Gemara straight away asks the kasha v'litamech. You're telling me that wherever the pasuk said that you're sinning against me, against the Hakadosh Baruch Hu, so then it's dinay masol l'shamayim. Well, you can't say such thing. V'chatasi da'lekim by Yosef, where Yosef refused to do the avera with Potiphar's wife, and he says that if I would have done it, v'chatasi da'lekim, l'lekim v'loy Adam, you're going to tell me that in such a situation it was takabi. I'm going to explain according to some Rishonim. L'lekim v'loy Adam, that dinay masol l'shamayim v'loy Adam. That he would only be chayiv b'dei shamayim and not b'dei adam. He wasn't oimim mutar there. He knew he was dealing with an eishes ish. Therefore, sure he would be chayiv misa b'dei adam. Yeah. Ela, ma, you're going to tell me chatasi da'lekim means that the sin is to the eibishter, but dinoi masul adam. And nevertheless, just because it says chatasi da'lekim doesn't mean that it's dinoi masul shamayim. Hachanami dinoi masul adam. Here too, just because it says mechatoili is not a raya that the mis is b'dei shamayim. Rather, just means the aveira is Lashem V'taka Dini Masala. So just to summarize, to go over this raya for a moment, the raya is like this. The raya is that hin chomeis is mashma yichai misa b'dei adam. So Chisda says back, no, it's b'dei shamayim. It even brings a raya that mechatoili implies that the Aveira is only against the Eibush, and the Eibush is going to deal with it. So misa b'dei shamayim. And there's no raya that oim mut is chai misa b'dei adam. So we say no. there's no raya from the pasuk that mechatoili is a misa b'dei shamayim, because v'chatasi lelekim, which is said by Yosef, there was no oim muta there. There he knew he was dealing with an ashes ish. If he would have sinned, it would, even though it says chatasi lelikim, we understand that dinner would be takabi masala adam. So hachanami, even though you could still say dinner masala adam. So weiter in the Gemara, Eisvi Abai l'Rava. Now it's the other way around. Abai, who's going to go with shittas of Chisda, we know Abai earlier said oim muta anus, right? He goes in the shittas of Chisda and he holds that oim muta is an anus or karav la'inus. He asks from this story of Avimelech the other way around. What's the raya the other way around? The pasuk says, "Hagoy gam tzadik tarek." Avimelech turns to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he says, "Hagoy gam tzadik tarek. You're going to kill an innocent man? I'm innocent. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know it was two things. I didn't know that it was it was an ashes ish, but I think also was included in his words. But this is not what the Gemara is focusing on. That I didn't actually do anything to Halamaisa. But Akoponim is mashma over here. We're not focusing on that. We have to deal with that question another time. But the Gemara is saying, Hagoygam Tzadi Tareg, Avimelech is turning to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and saying, Hagoygam Tzadi Tareg, I didn't know. I didn't know that it was an Ashes Ish. And it's mashma that HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't respond to this time of Hagoygam Tzadi Tareg. That he was asking that he was an honest. The Gemara says, no, that's not true. Hasam Kidikam Hadri Lave. So go back. I say, Kidikama Hadri Lave, not Hasam. Kidikama Hadri Lave is not true. The Eibush Taka wasn't masking to his taina that he was innocent. Abaya says Karav le Oines. Abaya says Oines. Rabbi says Mezid. Or Rabbi, but Akapanim.
What is he going to go from
Hagogim Tzadi Tareg is Avimelech telling HaKadosh Baruch Hu that I'm innocent and you're going to kill me for being innocent. You're telling me Hin Chameis is mashma that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was masking. So we say no. Kidikam Hadri Lave. Taka answers back to Ma'ata Hoshev Eishes Ish. Return the Eishes Ish. Sarah, return Sarah, the wife of the man. Kinovi who because he's a Navi. So this is the passage which is very difficult to understand. What's up? Kinovi who because he's a Navi. The Gemara straight away asks Eishes Navi who to Tahader the Lav Navi Lo Tahader. Because she's an Ashes Navi, therefore he has to return her. But if she wasn't an Ashes Navi, then he wouldn't have to return her. Ella was pshat in the pasuk. You have to say pshat in the pasuk. You have to teach it the way Shmuel ben Nachmani taught it. Amr Shmuel ben Nachmani, Amr b'Yonis, and Hachik Amr. This is what the pasuk say. V'hata hashev Ashes Ish. Period. Mikamak. Return Ashes Ish doesn't make it not because he's a Navi. Mikamak. Or dikidika Amris Hagoygam Tzadi Tarek. You kind it that you shouldn't Hagoygam Tzadi Tarek. Now I'm responding to that. Now you know she's an Ashes Ish. You have no excuse now to keep her with you. You know, but you want to not be punished. In other words, you're timing that you didn't do anything wrong previously. Hagoygam Tzadi Tarek. That why am I chayav misa for taking the woman originally when I thought it was a sister of Abraham. Navihu. Navi means even if it doesn't literally mean a Navi, it can mean a Navi. But even if it means a Chacham, but the point is he knew who he was dealing with. HaKadosh Baruch was answering and saying, you're not innocent. Navihu, in other words, the reason why he said Achoisi to you was because he learned from what was going from what you asked him. What was, in other words, he knew something was strange that you asked him, is this your sister or not? Why? A guest who comes to the city, yeah? He asked him, do you have a place to eat? Do you have a place to drink? Do you ask if this is your wife? Or is this not a normal question to ask? Since Avimelech asked the question, Avram answered by saying, Achoisi. From here we learn, so in other words, from the fact that the pasuk says Kinavihu, the Abish was saying like this. You're telling me Agoygam Tzadi Tarek. The answer is Kinavihu. He answered you in response to the way you spoke to him, and the way you spoke to him was inappropriate. You were asking him an inappropriate question whether he was a sister or not, and you're responsible for that, and that's why narrowing. In other words, you should have done your due diligence, but you don't ask questions which are not in the spirit of derech eretz. In other words, that to ask someone with ish chazu or chayis chazu. Let's see Rashi. The fact that the Eibishter answered Novihu, not Stam the answer. The answer, yeah. The fact that the Eibishter answered him. What was his answer? His answer was Novihu, in other words, that he answered you Achoisi based on the question that you asked. And the question that you asked was wrong of you. You shouldn't have asked that. You should have just assumed it was his wife or whatever, mind your own business. But you're already, behaving inappropriately, and therefore you're responsible for the takala which came out later. Let's see Rashi. Chisda didn't want to say originally that the Braisa, which says that a ger toshav is nerag for a ger toshav, didn't want to say he's oim mutter because he holds anasu. V'Ravad am nerag, and Rabbi who says that takab shat in the Braisa that you are nerag, that goy is nerag and a ger toshav is nerag for killing in the oif and oim mutter. Ozla tamay in a similar case, kisava behema. Case of someone thinks he's killing a behema and it ended up being an adam. How is that oim mutter? Shayloi lomad. After hayloi la'ayin. Like Oim Mutter. What's the reason why Oim Mutter is chayav by a guy? Because he should have learned and he didn't. You can't. There's some culpability there. Maybe you're not taking, not mazid, but you're not oinus either. You had something to do. You could have checked that there was a behemoth or an adam. Of a ger toshav skin, we're talking about a ger toshav. Rashi says this price. Although it doesn't say it clearly. Chayav misa. Ma'ila b'di adam b'dini b'nei noyach. V'zeh Oim Mutter haya kesava achayis Avrami. Now we're going to the case of hin chameis. Right? Because Baruch said hin chameis. So we understand that hin chameis is ma'ila b'di adam b'dini b'nei noyach. The b'dini b'nei noyach you get killed. V'zeh Oim Mutter haya kesava achayis Avrami. He thought he was the sister of Avraham. So we say, what do you mean? He says mechatoili. That's a raya that it's bidei shamayim. You say, no. The chatasi le'lekim by Yosef is also mashma that didn't muscle the shamayim v'loy. No. She knew that he was Ashes. She would have got, if you would have sinned with Potiphar's wife, Yitaka would have got killed within Ibn Adam. Elamai, the fact that it says v'chatasi le'lekim is not a raya when you get to what the din is muscle Adam or not. It's saying there's an aver against the Eibishter, but the din is muscle Adam. Hagoygam tzali tarik kisagdash shahoydule Hakadosh Baruch. Hakadosh Baruch who didn't respond to this time of Hagoygam tzali tarik alma onasu. We see that Taka Oimimut is honest. So the Gemara Taka says no. Kitakama hadri le'lavei. Hakadosh Baruch Hu wasn't asking. Hakadosh Baruch Hu Taka answered a response to him that he's chayav misa because he's not a tzaddik. He should have learned derech eretz and not asked this question in the first place. And asking this question is what got him into this trouble. Okay, everybody.